such an honor for me to be back here in Citipointe. I was here 2 years ago. Feels like yesterday. Feels like 10 years ago at the same time. And just one thing that kind of came up into my mind when I came back now is 2 years ago when I came, it was exactly the time where Pastor Mark was diagnosed with cancer. And today I rejoice with you over God's healing power and God's faithfulness. Thank God. Also, it's going to be a great joy to have my dear friend, your youth pastor, Joel Ramsey, over in our church. Okay, fan club over there. Joel's going to be over at our church in Sweden in just a few weeks, speaking to our young people at our annual youth conference, and we can't wait to have him. I have a feeling we're going to like him so much that we want to keep him. I'm going to strike a deal here. We get Joel and you get IKEA or something. We get to keep him, or you can get ABBA or Avicii, depending on what generation you're in. Or maybe you can get as many Swedish meatballs as you could possibly eat in a lifetime. Especially, I look forward to having you speak in Swedish, man. It's going to be a great experience for me to listen to you. My name is Joakim, as you heard. If you have a hard time pronouncing that, you can just say, "You're welcome." And that will bring it close enough. Apart from being the pastor of our church, I'm also married to my wife. And yeah, come on, no one else is married to my wife. I'm the only one. Her name is Maria, and we're now into our 28th wonderful year of marriage. And God has also blessed us with two great daughters, Evelina, who's 24, and Julia, who's 22, whom I just walked down the aisle a few months ago and gave her away to the second best guy in the world, because as I have told her repeatedly, Daddy will always be Daddy. So they're waiting for me back home now, but I'm so happy to be here with you. A year and a half ago, I stepped in as senior pastor of our church, Word of Life, back home in Sweden. I've been a part of that church for 17 years, and I love it with all of my heart. I think we have a pic here from back home, so you get an image of how it looks at our services. Can we have that up on the screen? Yeah, there we go. That's Word of Life for you. And when you come to Sweden and visit us, please note, I didn't say if you come to Sweden, I said when you come to Sweden. See, when I go over here, I'm actually fulfilling the calling of Jesus upon my life, because he said I should go to the ends of the world. And this is about as far from home as I can possibly get. So naturally, for you guys to fulfill your calling, you'll need to go to Sweden. So welcome. We'll take good care of you when you come. When you come to Sweden and visit our church, you're going to notice two things. One, we're all passionate about missions. Missions is a burning heart in the heart of our church. We're all over former Soviet Union, Central Asia, India, and China. And we train leaders to get the gospel of Jesus Christ preached to every group of people. And one other thing that we're also passionate about is generations. And I love coming to a church like this, where multiple generations meet together. They don't confront each other, they bless each other, they support each other, and they pray for each other. We need churches like that all over the world. Can you say amen? And I remember last time I came 2 years ago, if you were here then you might remember I spoke about an event that we were doing in just a few months from that time. And naturally we did it about a year and a half ago. And I just want to tell you shortly about this thing, because this is something we did to celebrate the young generation. So many times when you study church history, you see that church history is a long line of one generation revivals. Very few revivals were actually taken from the pioneer generation over to the next generation. Why is that? Because we have constantly repeated the same mistake within Christianity. We've woken up too late to the fact that we need to train the next generation, and we need to believe in the next generation, and we need to give all our best to the next generation. Amen? So we thought to ourselves, what can we do to really kind of give the next generation a great, amazing gift, give them an event that they will never, ever forget. So we rented a cruise ship. It's actually the biggest cruise ship in Scandinavia, and we thought to ourselves, what can be more awesome than to make a youth conference out at sea? So we rented the entire ship. We got 2,000 Jesus-loving, on-fire Christian teenagers on board, and we did a youth conference out at sea, cruising around in the Baltic Sea and meeting with Jesus at the same time. It's completely awesome. And we have a few pics from that event. We just turned the whole place into a church for Jesus Christ. We had youth meetings, we had concerts, we had planet checkers from over here over, and we just had an amazing time. So many young people encountered Jesus in a mighty way, and also just to see the staff aboard the ship, 250 people employed to normally take care of the people that partake in these cruises. And I need to tell you that back in Sweden and Scandinavia, if you go on board these boats in the normal way, you're probably there for one of two reasons, or both. You're there to get drunk, and you're there to get in bed with somebody that you're not married to. Basically, that's the basic two reasons to go on these cruises regularly. So these guys working on these ships normally get to see mankind at its worst. They see the darkness and the filth every single day. And all of a sudden now, 2,000 pure, clean, holy, and on fire teenagers boarded that ship. I tell you, when we disembarked, they were in tears. And they say, please come back. We never seen young people like this in our lives. And just one thing that really, I loved hearing this. You know, normally in these big cruise liners, they have like one bar over here at the end, one in the middle and one in the front. They have one arena in the end, one in the middle and one in the front, so that they will naturally spread out the passengers evenly to balance out the ship. Now, we didn't take that into consideration whatsoever. One arena was bigger than the rest, so we gathered everyone there in the rear end of the ship. We had a youth service, I was preaching, and the whole young crowd just got wild for Jesus Christ, started jumping up and down. That followed with the Planet Shakers concert, where we had 2,000 young people in the rear end of the ship jumping up and down. The next day I spoke to the captain of the ship. He said, we've never experienced anything like this. The whole cruise liner was going toom, 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 toom like this. I thought to myself, I would have loved to stand on a small island in the Stockholm archipelago and seeing this cruise liner bounce by for Jesus Christ. It was a completely awesome experience. And I'm just giving it to you as a good idea for your future. You got a lot of sea around this island, I understand. So if you want to steal this idea, it's okay. Copyright means right to copy. So just feel free and go ahead and run with it if that comes natural. But hey, I don't want to speak about myself or my church, even though I could for several days, because this night is not about that. It's about Jesus and it's about you. So I want to go into a message now that I want to share with you briefly that I call the shopping carts of life. In Australia, that would be the shopping trolleys of life, I guess. It's the first time I share this in English, so bear with me and please have mercy. If you don't have mercy, I'll have you come to Sweden and preach in Swedish and see how good you are doing. So let's get into the Word of God straight away. I want to read a few verses tonight from James chapter 1. And we're going to read from verse 12. It says, blessed is the man who endures temptation. For when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised to those who love him. And let's take the next verse. Let no one say when he's tempted, I am tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. Verse 14, but each one is tempted when he's drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. Now you might wonder, what in the world would make a guest speaker choose these verses to speak from? Verses with a theme of sin, temptation, and death. Yoo-hoo! Hallelujah, provoking verses. Not really. But I want to speak about these verses because I think that I'm speaking tonight to a crowd that wants to make a serious impact for Jesus in their generation. Amen? And how do we make that impact for Christ? We do it basically in three ways. First of all, we make an impact for Jesus in our communities by reflecting His love. Reflecting His love in our society. Reflecting His love to our world. Loving God is one of the best way you can evangelize. Getting so full of the love of Jesus Christ so that it shines out through you and affects all the things that you do and all the things that you say. Amen? There's no door that can be locked against love. Love will find a way. Amen? And we see that in our church. We just ended a number of weeks that we call Love Uppsala, where we just loved on our city, morning till evening, in any single possible way we could think about. And one great example about the power of love that we've seen in the past few years has been the fact that Sweden, in the past few years now, has received a huge amount of immigrants, primarily from the Middle East. Refugees from Iraq, Iran, also from Afghanistan, people coming into our nation. So now our population is made up about 12 or 13% of immigrants. And that has released a wave of racism and hostility toward the people who are coming. And we think in our church that we want to go against that flow. And we want to bless those who come, and we want to love those who come, and our nation will be their nation as well. It's clearly in the Word of God, this is how we should act. So what we're doing in our church is we go into the suburbs where there is a strong Muslim community. Instead of pointing our finger and stating the troubles and the problems that comes along with the immigration, we just go right in there with what? With the love of Jesus Christ. We have a project that we call Saturday Fun, which is basically a Sunday school for Muslim kids. And every time we do that, it assembles so many Muslim kids with their mothers and fathers. And we bring clowns and cakes and balloons and throw a big party for these kids who never get out of their suburb, never get to know any Swedish people. And they love it. And their families love it. Every week we make 300 house visits into Muslim families in our city. And you would think that they would close their door and not want us there. Quite the opposite, my friend. They open their door and say, please come in. Finally, a Swedish person that actually wants us here and wants to speak to us. Last Sunday, after service, 3 non-converted Muslim families came up to me after service. They had attended our service. And they asked me to pray that Jesus Christ will bless their small children. And I asked them, why did you come to church in the first place? Because for a Muslim, that's a very weird thing to do. And they said to my face, because we know you love us. We know this church love us. You don't point the finger, you love us. Amen? We affect our communities with the love of Jesus Christ. Amen? Actually, I told the staff before the meeting and they asked me to retell this story, speaking on this theme. One of my young leaders in church is called Arash. Arash comes from Iran. And when he was a small kid, he lived with his mother, who's actually part of the royal court of Iran. She's a princess. So he grew up in a small palace. And at one point, his mother, then a convicted, not a convicted criminal, but convicted Muslim, was praying to Allah very intensely because her husband had walked out on her and she did not know what to do. So she prayed and prayed and prayed to Allah to give her guidance and directions. And instead of Allah answering her, into her small prayer closet, Jesus Christ stepped right through the wall. And he sat down with her and he shared the gospel with this woman. When Jesus Christ shares the gospel about himself, that's pretty intense. And he asked her, do you want to have this in your life? And she said, yes. So he led her to himself. And he led her in a prayer of salvation. Man, when Jesus Christ leads you in a prayer of salvation, you get saved. So she realized that after having given her life over to Jesus, she couldn't stay in Iran. Her life would be in danger. So she took her children and went to Sweden. She connected with our church. And now her son, who used to be in Quran school, is one of our young leaders preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. There's nothing that the love of God cannot break through. Amen? Second way we affect our societies and our generations is by distributing the power of God. Praying for people and see lives changed. And I've heard so great reports about the youth camp that you guys had the other week. And so many young people got healed and touched and saved. That's the best statement we can give to the world around us. God is a life-changing God. And the thing that proves that is all the changed lives. Amen? But the third way, and this is really what I want to focus on tonight. The third way we influence our generations is by living holy lives. It's by living holy and pure lives, because this world needs people who are walking in a different way. This world needs to see people with a different lifestyle. We might be similar on the outside, but there are some things we do, there are some things we say, there are some things we do not do, and there are some things we do not say because we're part of God's kingdom. Amen? Now this is an area that we hardly ever talk about nowadays in church, but I think we should. And the reason why we kind of grow silent about the issue of holiness and sanctification is probably because there's so much bad conscience involved. There's so many failures involved. I meet Christians all the time, and they identify a sin in their lives, and then they repent from it from a pure and honest heart. And they say, God, I never want to do that again. I repent, and they receive forgiveness, and they make a decision to go in another direction. And then everything is fine, but then gradually they find themselves sliding back into that exact same habit, that exact same behavior. And then they wake up one day and say, oh no, I'm back here again. I shouldn't be back here. So they repent again, and they ask for God's forgiveness, and they make a new commitment, and everything is fine. But then gradually again, they start sliding back. And after a while, you just consider yourself a hopeless case. But you know what? There are no hopeless cases in this room. This scripture that we just read starts by saying, blessed is the man who endures temptation. That means you can endure temptation. God is not a respecter of persons. Every single one here, no matter what kind of things you're entangled in, no matter what kind of habits that you have in your life and have desperately tried to break free from, maybe for years, you are not a hopeless case. The reason why we sometimes end up in that situation and with that mindset is because we don't understand how temptation works in our lives. The classical image about how temptation works is you have the devil over here, and it's got this big bow and arrow with a fiery dart, and he'll shoot it at you, and you get hit by that temptation, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it except to fall for it. You know what? Sometimes we give the devil way too much credit. He cannot do all the things that we sometimes say that he can, because that makes him a good excuse for us. I'm sorry I'm late for school today. The devil made me do it. No, you were late because you decided to be late. Amen. And this Bible verse that we just read says that when we are drawn away by our own desires. All the church says, ouch. It says we're drawn away by our own desires. Of course, temptation may come your way, but in order for a temptation to work its way into your life, it needs something on the inside of you to attach itself to. And that thing we can do something about. And when I started thinking about this and praying about this, I was thinking, how can I illustrate this in a way that people will remember and people will understand? And I just came to the conclusion that, hey, you know what? I'm just going to use a shopping trolley. And I thank God that you got those things over here as well in Australia. It's just not a Swedish invention, like so many things are. Let's say that you start out in life with an empty shopping trolley. You just come to the Lord. You're a young person. You just starting out with God, and now you have this empty shopping trolley. And it's empty, so it's easy to push. It's no big deal. You can push it along. It doesn't take much effort. It's fun, it's easy, and so on. Before I started out as senior pastor the other year, I've been working with young people for 27 years. And so many times I was amazed by the fact that young people could commit their whole lives and everything they have to God in such a passionate way. And I thought to myself, wow, how come that all these young people can do this with such passion and fervency? I thought maybe young people are just heroes of faith by nature. But then I realized that's not the case at all. The reason why young people can give everything they have to Jesus with such passion is because they don't have very much. When a 14-year-old says, God, I give you everything I have, she's really referring to $35, 2 pairs of jeans, and 1 iPhone. Because that's everything she has. The rest belongs to mom and dad. No credit taken away from you teenage guys, but that's just the way it is. But of course, then you grow older, and you get a car, and you get a house, and you get an income. And all of a sudden, it's not that easy to say, everything I have. But still, you should be able to push an empty shopping cart ahead of you through life. But let's say that you come to a point in your life, after a while of walking with God, where you start to develop a certain desire. Let's say you start thinking about money quite a lot. Now, it's a legitimate thought. It's a legitimate desire to want a little more money than you have. But maybe you come to the point where that thought just grows and takes up too much time and space in your life. You start worrying about, thinking about all the things you could do if you had more money, the car you would buy, the house you could get, the vacations you can go on, and how life would be just so amazing and so great if only you had more money. And then after a while, if you keep this thought and it turns into a desire, a strong thought in your life, then you might come to the point where you actually are more frustrated with the stuff you cannot buy because you can't afford them than you are thankful for the things you actually have. And you know what happens? It goes down in your shopping cart. It becomes a desire, a strong thought, a strong undercurrent in your life. Now, you haven't technically sinned. You haven't been financially immoral. You haven't withheld your tithings or offerings in church or anything like that. You haven't acted upon the thought, but it's becoming a desire that will cause problems later on. And I'll get to that. Then you move on in life. And maybe you come to a point after yet another while where you start thinking quite a lot about how great it would be if you were more popular than you were. If only people will like you a little bit more than they seem to do. You start counting your Facebook friends with fervency. How many followers do you have on Twitter? How many likes did you get on your last Instagram pic? And you realize that your friend posted an Instagram pic the same day as you did. She got 36 likes and you got 27. And you start to think about, how did that happen? Who are these 9 people? So you go into her Instagram account and you check out which 9 people liked her pic and not mine. And you start to worry, why don't they like me? How can I get them to like me, or at least my Instagram pics? And this thought, just turns from one legitimate thought, because we all want to be liked, and it's a natural thing. We all want to be loved, and it's a natural thing. But it goes deeper than that. It becomes somewhat of an obsession. First thing you check when you wake up in the morning is not the Word of God, it's your social media status. And it goes into your shopping cart. It's not a sin, but it's becoming a desire, a strong thought, a strong need for you to be more liked than you are. Then you move on in life, and let's say that somewhere later down the line you come to another point where you start to feel a bit misunderstood. You think you don't get the credit you deserve. You're doing all these things, but no one is patting your back and telling you how amazing you are. You think you're not getting the credit you deserve from your husband or wife, your girlfriend or boyfriend. Maybe you're not getting the credit you think you owe in church. Why did the pastor point out that guy and credit him for helping out? I've been helping out 6 months longer. And it's getting from a legitimate thought to a bit of an obsession, a desire. Again, it's not sin. You haven't acted upon it. It's an inner process in your life. But it goes down in your shopping cart as a desire. And now the cart is getting a bit harder to push. And then let's say, of course, we could just assemble hundreds of boxes in this cart. But for the last one for tonight, maybe you come to a point in your life where you simply like yourself a bit too much. You know, it's a legitimate thing to like oneself. You should have a sound, godly self-appreciation. You're an amazing person with great gifts. But you know what I'm talking about? Coming to the place where you simply are a bit too fond of yourself. Maybe you have an education and you're super proud of that education. And you start to look down upon other people who does not have that same education. Maybe you're successful in business and it kind of gets to your head. You love it when people speak well about you and give you credit and lift you up. And at the same time, you're not as comfortable when other people with success in their lives are being lifted up because you think it's kind of pushing you down at the same time. So again, it's not sin. You haven't acted upon this thought, but it becomes a desire and it goes down in your shopping cart. Now, when you come to this point, where the desires are being piled up inside your shopping cart. Of course, now you can still look at it and say, hey, I have not sinned. I have not killed anyone. I have not stolen anything. I can go through all the 10 commandments. Check, 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 check. Yeah, but you're building desires into your life. And we just read from the Word of God that when one person is drawn away, he's drawn away by his own desires. And when the desires conceive, they will give birth to sin. When you come to this point, that there's stuff in your shopping cart of life that shouldn't really be there, two things will happen. Citipointe, can you say two things? Two things. First thing is that the next time that there's going to become a temptation your way, the next time the devil's going to stand over here and it's going to fire a temptation dart over in your direction, if there is stuff in your shopping cart, these things will turn into trampolines. And the temptation will come and they will bounce off the desires that you have in your cart and it will hit your heart 10 times stronger than they would if you had an empty shopping cart. Let's say, for example, there is a temptation now that you're exposed to go into financial immorality. You realize you can make a lot of money if you only do this and that and this and that. And you know it's not right. You know it's not right before the law. You know it's not right before God. But if there is a passion there, if there is a desire for more money, that temptation will hit your heart way much stronger than it would have if you would go around with an empty shopping cart. Do you understand what I mean? The other thing that's going to happen when you got stuff in your shopping cart is that gradually your shopping cart will start to pull in one direction. And is there anything worse than a shopping cart? Teenagers, you don't understand what I'm talking about right now. It's okay. One day you will pay for your own food. Now, is there anything worse than a shopping cart that pulls in one direction? For me, that's kind of top 5 of frustrations in life. That means I'm a lucky man. But still, and the reason why is because cooking is how I unwind. That's the thing I do to relax. Yeah, you're Australians, you surf and shoot bears and stuff. I don't know what you guys do. But I cook, and I love the process of going to the grocery store and checking out fish and meat and, experimenting with recipes. To me, that's relaxing. I love it. My wife is very happy about this. So when I go to the grocery store, I expect a great experience. But the worst thing, the thing that can ruin it more than anything, is if I get one of those shopping trolleys and you go through the little doors and you can't get back and change into another one, and then too late you realize this shopping cart has a life of its own. It doesn't go where I want to go, it goes where it wants to go. And the only way now forward is if I use twice as much energy just to stay on track. In order for me to go along just in a straight line, I need to use so much strength and so much energy and so much focus. What should have been easy and funny and a great experience now turns into hard work. It's exactly the same in your Christian life. It should be easy. It should be great. It should be inspirational. It should be full of motivation and joy. But when you got stuff in your shopping cart, When you have allowed all these desires, the shopping cart will be a work. It'll be a whole project to push simply in a straight line. And after a while of pushing your shopping cart ahead of you, you start to lose the joy. And you wonder, how come I'm so tired all the time? Where did I lose the joy of being a child of God? When did I lose the joy of coming to church and getting involved and volunteer and helping out? It must be somebody else's fault. And here's where blame shifting comes in. Now we're looking for the victim. Whose fault is this? Because it cannot be ours, of course. It must be the way my mother raised me. It must be the pastor not preaching sermons that are good enough. It must be the worship. It must be my life group leader. It must be someone else. All you need to do most of the times is look into your shopping cart. Here's the problem. Here's why you get tired all the time. Here's why you lack enthusiasm and inspiration. Here's when the life of Jesus Christ and the following of Jesus Christ turn into hard work because you allowed stuff in your shopping cart. And if you deceive yourself, and James goes on to say, do not deceive yourself, dear brothers. If you deceive yourself, then you will just look at the content of the trolley and say, I have no sin. But when you read the Gospels, and you read how Jesus walks about calling people to follow him, you also realize that people left stuff behind when they did. And the things they left behind was not only sins, it was desires. It was things, parts of their lives that Jesus wanted them to leave behind. Maybe they were not problems for them at the time, but they would grow into problems later on. We see Peter and John leaving their nets behind. Now, the nets were not sinful at all. But Jesus knew that if they would have brought their nets along with them, later on when the going got tough, chances are likely that they would be caught by the desire to go back to their old life. Levi, the guy who ended up writing the Gospel of Matthew, he left his tax collecting table and his money behind. Again, nothing wrong with money, but it was way too big of a part of his life. And Jesus knew, Levi, if you're going to carry your money along with you, sooner or later, there will be a temptation bouncing off them as a trampoline, and you will be unable to resist it. Blind Bartimaeus left his beggar's cloak behind. Again, nothing wrong with having a beggar's cloak if you're a beggar, but Jesus knew that's the whole part of your old identity. It's not a sin, but you need to leave it behind. Because later on, a fiery dart of the enemy can bounce off that old identity and cause damage to your heart and to your soul. Are you with me tonight? Then we have, of course, the one story about a young man that came to Jesus Christ with one certain thing in his shopping cart. And he desperately wanted to follow Jesus. And in the Bible, this man is not mentioned by name. He's simply called a rich young man. That's 3 words that put together in that way spells absolute disaster. Rich young man. It might work 9 times out of 10, it doesn't. So this rich young man comes up to Jesus, all enthusiastic, and said, Jesus, what shall I do to have everlasting life? And Jesus says, well, rich young man, you know the commandments, and keep the commandments for a start. And the young man goes, yes, I have done that. I have kept all the commandments from the days of my youth. And then Jesus loved him, the Bible says. And he said, there's one more thing. There's one thing I see you have in your shopping cart. The money is way too big part of your life right now. So why don't you go and give that away and then come and follow me. The same words, follow me, that is said to Peter and John and Matthew and blind Bartimaeus. It's like, just empty your shopping cart for your own sake. Otherwise, following me will be a struggle. But if you give that away, not because it's a sin, not because something is technically wrong with it, but it's just for you. It's a desire that will cause spiritual wreckage later on if you don't deal with it. And this rich young man looks at his shopping cart, looks at Jesus, looks at his shopping cart, and looks at Jesus, and goes, nah. And it says he walked away sad. Why? Because he kept needing to use all the energy to push along the shopping cart and the content he desperately wanted in there. And he walks away from Jesus, and he walks away from history. We never hear about him again. And many times I thought to myself, I wonder what plans Jesus had for that guy. Maybe God intended for him to write a gospel or something. Maybe this should have been Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and the gospel from the rich young man. Maybe there would have been the third epistle to the Corinthians written by the rich young man. We don't know. Maybe God intended for him to go to another nation, start a revival that would affect this nation for generations. We will never know why, because he loved the content of his shopping cart more than he loved the idea of following Jesus Christ. And I think it's all in there as a warning example for you and me. Because if we only look at what we have right now and not at the reward that is further down the road, then we will make the wrong decisions. And I want to wrap up this whole message by sharing one experience with you. And this was a thing that happened to me 1.5 years ago. And I wish right now that my wife was here. I always wish my wife was here, but especially now, because this sounds too weird to be true. But then Maria could stand up and testify, he's actually telling the truth. 1.5 years ago, I went to Stockholm. Stockholm is the capital of Sweden. You don't know that, but it's okay. I went there to show a friend of mine, a pastor from New Zealand actually. It was his first time in Sweden, first time in Stockholm. So we spent a full day in Stockholm, and I took him around to see the sights and stuff. Now you need to know, Stockholm is built on an archipelago. Stockholm is really 1,200 islands that are linked together by bridges. So there are bridges all over, and there are water all over, okay? So here's this guy and myself, and we're walking around in Stockholm, and as we are crossing a bridge, there's a TV team standing on the bridge with cameras and all. And they point to me and said, "Sir, could you please come over for a while?" And I walked over, nice as I am, and I said, they said to me, "Would you like to answer some questions on camera? We're making a kind of short documentary, a commercial." I said, "Okay, would you please tell me who you guys are?" And they say, "We come from Norton Software. Norton Antivirus." You know Norton? All you PC users knows Norton because you got virus problems that we Mac users don't have. So, it's just the truth. So every PC user in the house, they know well, that's the pop-up window that pops up all the time. So annoying. Saying you got a virus problem because you're using the wrong computer. So that's why you need to upgrade your Norton antivirus program. So we're just making a small kind of commercial about how people use their mobiles. I said, "Do you have a mobile?" I said, "Sure, I have a mobile." "So can we ask you some questions?" "Sure, go ahead." So he started asking me questions on camera about how I use my mobile and how many pictures I have on it, how many, what kind of music I have on it, how often I use it and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy says, "How much money would you demand in order for you to throw your phone off this bridge and into the water right now?" And I thought, well, that's a stupid question. That's clearly hypothetical. So I just grabbed a number from thin air. I just said 2,000 euros, which is equal to about 4,000 Australian dollars, I think. Which is insane. You can get a lot of phones for 4,000 Australian dollars. And this guy said, wait a second. And he told the camera guy, "Cut." And he got his team together. And I was just standing there at a distance watching them. They got up their wallets and started pulling out bills, 100 euro bills. And I thought to myself, this is not happening. This is not happening at all. So after a while, this guy comes up to me and says, "We got 2,000 euros right here. If you throw your phone off this bridge on camera, you'll get 2,000 euros right now." And my mind was just going bzzz. Because you need to understand, this is Sweden. Nobody do nice things to each other in Sweden. Nobody gives away stuff. There's no good deals to be found in Sweden. There's always a catch. When somebody gives something away for free, there's something there that you need to realize. I was just thinking, what is the catch here? What is it that I don't see? What makes this situation anything else than an amazing deal? But I mean, he's there with the money and all. He said, are you going to do it? I said, 2,000 euros. Throw the phone off the bridge. Yeah, are you going to do it? And I said, yeah. I wanted to kind of grab hold of the guy so he won't run away with my money. But I took this phone and I threw it over the bridge. Down into the water it went, because I knew that for that amount of money, I can get a couple of new phones. And I have my whole content, copied on iCloud, and just get a new SIM and you can download it all and you'll be back in business again. And so I did it. And to me, it was no big deal. Why? Because the stuff that I was given was much more worth than the stuff I had to throw away. Amen? And one thing fascinated me, though, when I saw the final commercial, the final trailer. Do you want to see it, by the way? Yeah, great, because I brought it tonight. Let's roll it on the screen.
How much is a smartphone actually worth? We've decided to go out and put it to the test. If I offered you 500 euros in cash right now, would you erase the content of your phone? Yeah, the whole thing.
Everything?
Yeah, to wipe your entire phone clean.
No. I can't delete everything in my phone.
Who's the naked photo of?
Oh, I don't know. That's my dad.
If I offered you 1,000 euros, would you throw your phone off this bridge?
1,420.
Yeah, to throw it off the bridge.
Is that real money?
All of your contacts, your notes, your emails, all of your banking apps, they're all going to go in there with your phone.
Yeah. That's quite a fascinating point.
This is really hard. This is like, should I ask my mom if I should throw my...
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Just throw it off.
Yeah.
2,000 euros.
No, I don't think so.
Nope. Sorry, no.
Really?
No. It would be like throwing my baby over it.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to do it?
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
here we go. This message was brought to you by Norton Software. What amazed me when I saw the finished product was I was the only one who did it. All these people were offered all these, these amounts of money, and I was the only one who actually threw away my phone. And I was watching at all these guys and thought, how stupid can you get? You look way too hard on the thing that you have right now. I said, I can't throw this away. What will happen to me if I don't have my phone? I was without phone for 2 hours. I got a new phone back. I actually threw in an iPhone 4S and I got a new iPhone 5, so it's a good deal. Then I had money to spare and I have a great story to tell you on the other side of the world. But you know what? Sometimes we're just at that point as human beings. We have the stuff that we have now. We have our darling thoughts. We have our favorite desires. We have stuff in our shopping carts that brings us a certain joy and comfort as long as we hold on to them. And we fail to realize that if we only empty our shopping cart, there's a great blessing in store for us further down the road. Amen? So never hold back. Never hold on to the things you have right now, because Jesus is about to bless you, but it's going to take a sacrifice. It's going to take some kind of investment. And the greatest investment you can give him right now is to empty your shopping cart before his face. And you can move on. And the first blessing you're going to get is a new joy in following him. Why? Because you have an easier job now. You don't have to use as much energy. The joy will come back. The excitement will come back. That love for Jesus, the first love, will start to burn inside your heart again. Amen? So whatever He's pointing at in your life right now, maybe there is sin and you need to confess that sin. But maybe you just take a good look into your shopping cart right now and you realize, I got some stuff in there. I got some desires, I got some favorite thoughts, and even though they're not technically sin, I know that if I keep this in my life, it will be trampolines for temptations later on, and it might rob me of blessings that Jesus has in store for me.